Welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. It's another week. How are we doing, Didi?
What is the answer? Awesome. Of course it's awesome.
You've been away this week.
Yes.
Vegas, North Carolina.
No, San Jose, North Carolina.
Okay, I'm mixing it up.
Yes. Short announcement. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more. There's an announcement in the press. Happened last Thursday. Cisco has announced its intent to acquire Ort.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to thank Dima here personally because he was our first customer that gave us real data and also told Matt, listen, this is a real problem. This is something somebody will pay for because I stay on top of things and still I didn't know half the stuff you're going to show me. So that was a real kind of confidence booster because Matt was panicking all the way and said, how will everybody have this problem? Yes, everybody have that problem. So after that, I traveled to San Jose, the mothership, and of course to North Carolina to meet up with the security team. I'll talk about this when it's possible to talk about this.
Excellent. We'll have in the future some episodes about
lesson
learns from the journey into acquisition. Once things are actually sealed and done, and the news will be completely ready.
I have one thing to say that everybody should listen to. The oxen are slow, but the earth has patience. That's an important saying. Take deep breaths. Understand that some things just take time. So
yes, especially with you're dealing with giants.
It has nothing to do with that. Some things just take time. You need to take deep breaths. Inhale, exhale.
How the Israeli of you deal with like some things takes time?
Israelis don't deal with that.
A lot of sleepless nights just because of the anxiety.
Yes. So, but I've been Americanized. I take Dennis Morton classes. Dennis Morton on Peloton, highly recommended.
Yoga classes.
Exactly. He makes suggestions. I make improvements, and I'll
make
decisions. Whatever. Okay. I never listen. Halfway through the yoga class, I'm already half asleep. So that's kind of my recommendation of the day. We have a special guest here, Dima. I dragged you back after you decided to make a career change, and on the way out, you left a very interesting post on LinkedIn that referenced another article on LinkedIn, which a whole bunch of my friends have read, and I wanted to talk about this. Unfortunately, fortunately, I was never a CISO, so I can't comment on this firsthand. I've seen and observed some of my good friends. Larry was CISO of Carbonite, you from Avid, others that are still in the role. I see a lot of these points, but it's very different. It's like you can't explain getting kicked in the nuts. You can try to talk about this, but only somebody that gets kicked in the nuts can talk about the experience.
Definitely, I cannot
comment
Didi's
about analogies.
That.
Yes.
So first, Dmitry, let's tell the audience if they didn't listen to previous episodes when you were here. Let's introduce you a little bit and tell us about this career change that you're going through.
Sure.
And the summary of the state of CISOs in the way you see it.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me again on the show. I just, before we get into it, first of all, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Even if it's still ongoing, it feels like a successful, a really big milestone. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Second, you guys are running an amazing show, especially like the last, I watched them and then sometimes I just watched and rewatched them. The last 2 episodes, you guys have 2, I think, released with Andy.
Correct.
Andy is always a good guest, but you guys also had some really good stuff to bring out of him.
Thank you. Well, if you didn't check out the Andy Alice 2 last episodes.
I was going to finish watching the second before recommending the pair of them like out on LinkedIn. But, I mean, if you're watching this, for sure, this is definitely worth checking out.
Yes.
And the fact that the married couple is here on coming back over and over and over again should tell you something about the quality of this married couple. So definitely get their advice.
Appreciate it.
This is definitely very useful.
This is a couple therapy session.
You know it. I was telling my wife, I'm like, look, these two, this is their therapy session. Like this is.
It's cheaper than getting a therapist.
Right?
We just do the podcast here with producer Dave.
And we know from experience how expensive a therapist is.
I know. And Dave is very good. He rarely says anything. Just like a therapist, they look at you and you like starting to get the form, that question you had. Well, how do you feel about that? Like, and I feel this way about that. That's exactly what it's about.
Totally.
All right. So let's talk about that. So I've been at Avid since 2018, so almost 5 years. And when I came in, I was the very first full-time security hire. And we've built a program. Didi, you saw it through various iterations of it. We've gotten it to the point where we can quantify all of our digital risk, financially quantify it. We can, with high degree of certainty, say that we've either mitigated, treated, or transferred all of it. We can, again, financially quantify our ROI as a team, 300 to 400 to 500% positive year-over-year positive ROI for a security team. And we got it to the point where we've had the general direction and the high-level processes and everything established, and all it had to do is basically just iterate, continue to measure and improve and measure and improve. And I hired a director to run all of that. And when you look at that, and if I was looking at that and had that as a defined goal when I came in, which I didn't, I was kind of figuring this out as I went. But if I could, I would put that as a goal. And then when I realized that that was something we've achieved, I kind of said to my management team, look, I think the transformation is done. As a transformational CISO, I'm not sure what else is there to do in this case, right? The company has reached, like, if it's counting maturity levels, is getting up close to a 4 on a 5-point scale. So, I mean, that was officially the goal, which we presented to the board. We're getting to like 3.5 already, and it's just basically slow iteration, like I said, clean up in the process and things like that to get to the final point. Not much else to do here. And
well, first, congratulations.
It's very hard to achieve.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of listeners would love to be in this position.
And so was I. But it is bittersweet because, like, well, I guess I'm done with this puzzle. You put it in a frame.
And you don't want to get into the maintenance mode of maintaining, keeping it?
Not that I don't want to. It shouldn't be using me in a maintenance mode is a waste of me, and more importantly, too much involvement in the maintenance mode. I'm actually going to slow it down because I'm going to continue to try and improve.
Because you are a transformational CISO.
And it's too expensive. Exactly.
Yeah.
It becomes too expensive now. And so from just economic perspective, for the company, it is now becoming not cost effective, not cost efficient to continue to improve. You could say we want to be perfect, but every business, that's not the responsibility that businesses have. They have a responsibility of doing the best they can within the constraints that they have, financial, market, whatever may be the case.
What's realistic? What's the ROI of doing the extra, taking the extra mile?
You got to be cost effective, and then as soon as you stop being that, then maybe you do not need to go any further. And Avid is not saving lives on every day. It's not a hospital, so it doesn't need to aim for a 5. It is absolutely perfect being at a 4, and no legal entity will ever be able to blame it for negligence if it's not going past that point. It's not. I don't think it's required of business. That'd be my advice, and I mean that was my advice. Is my advice to the board and the executive team. So I was sort of. You finished raising a child and you let them, and you guys are familiar, you're letting it go. And it's a little sad, but at the same time, it's awesome. The team is great. They're all, halfway through my tenure there, I don't think I switched to it, but I identified what it was. I identified my leadership style as intent-based leadership as opposed to permission-based leadership. And that naming convention comes from David Marquette. He was a captain of a U.S. nuclear submarine, and he has a TED Talk, and he's got a bunch of YouTube videos. But his approach is you don't give permission to your team, you hear their intentions, right? So one of the latest submarine movies, I think, is called Hunter Killer with Gerard Butler, I think. Yeah. So there's a scene in there. It's not a very good movie, in my opinion, as an acting thing, but they're very accurate, very, very precise. It's almost like Top Gun, but for the submarines.
For me, once
And without Tom Cruise.
Yeah, but without the shield and the 300 and kicking the guy down the well, the guy doesn't work for me anymore.
When you see the submarine coming in at speed towards the sea floor and then pulling up like a sports car, you're like, all right, these guys are getting. But the thing that really struck me,
I'll be surprised if it can work that way. Something that weighs so many tons.
That was my thought. But inside, one of the officers says to the captain, "I intend to submerge the ship." And he goes, "Submerge the ship, I." Submerge the ship, I, and they submerge. So it wasn't a permission to submerge. It was a statement of intent. I intend to do this, and unless I hear otherwise, now. In the movie, that's all you hear. But in reality, and this is if you listen to Captain Marquette, what is actually behind it is a thing called leadership ladder, starting with the very bottom. Tell me what to do. Employee says, or subordinate says, tell me what to do, and the boss says, do this. The second layer is, what do you see? I see this. The third layer is, what do you think? I think this. What would you like to do? I'd like to do this. What do you intend to do? I intend to do this. What have you done? I've done this. What have you been doing? Number 7 is what have you been doing? And I was trying to move the whole team through that progression, have them identify where they find themselves on that ladder, and then figuring out how to move up to the next layer. When you get to the layer where you are liking or intending, you're almost done. They're almost ready to go on their own. All you are there for is to give them assurance, parenting style. Again, sort of, yeah, you're good. You keep doing that. Dave, thank you so much. The best scene, Hunter Killer. Yes, that's the one.
Officer of the deck, submerge the ship.
Submerge the ship. Aye, Captain. 15-degree down bubble, all ahead full, making depth 300 feet.
Aye, sir.
Then submerge the ship. Aye, that's exactly what it was, right? So I left the team at the point where they were now thinking in intentions. They were thinking in what they wanted to do. And then we took that, and each person had something they wanted to do under the guise of our mission statement. It wasn't go do EDR. It was our mission statement is educate the user / business on risk, help them make good risk decisions, and maintain mature tools and processes stack. Within that, you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do? What do you intend to do? And how is that going to impact our KPIs? Revenue, spending, and compliance. Those KPIs, not the vulnerabilities and other things. Remember those conversations?
Yes.
It's all about the money.
Yeah.
So I got the team to that point. I'm not necessary anymore. I'm an impediment now. I'm a speed bump. If I'm there, I am now interfering in their process, growth and cycle, right, of themselves. So it was time for me to go. But on the way out, or after, as I was finishing it, I saw a post about executive support.
Yes.
And I thought about mine. I thought about what I had experienced when I was at Avid. And why would someone think that they lost executive support, and what would that actually mean? Now, having dealt with executives, I thought to myself, it can't be this simple. Okay, yes, there could be sometimes, it could be incompetence, severe incompetence sometimes, or it could be, again, in rare cases, some personal thing. But let's put those aside. In majority of the cases, if you're losing support, it's not because they're incompetent or they hate you. It's got to be something else. The executives in their majority don't operate on these basic things. There's got to be something else. So what is it? And then I started thinking about it. Why would an executive not support you? And it's one of two, in my opinion, one of two reasons. Either they don't understand you, or you don't understand them. So it's a communication gap, or you're done. And you may just maybe you didn't understand it, or you're missing the point, or whatever. But there's a gap again, an understanding of where you are. So self-assessment is kind of missing. If you don't know,
Done meaning they don't want you.
it's
over
not.
there.
It's not that they don't want you. It's that your function was finished. Imagine you being like a window installer. You come in, you assess, and you recommend, and you purchase, and you install, and then you're done. Last window's installed. What are you keeping this guy in the house for?
Yes.
There's no need for this
Yeah.
for this person. Just wash the windows and make sure they're insulated every whatever. Making stuff up, but that's it. Now, the installer knows it. He's seeing the last window and he's like, oh, I know I'm going to be done tomorrow is the last window. But if they can't count, or if they don't keep track of the state of the house or what's left, then they'll be like, what do you mean you're kicking me out? I got more work to do. Well, what work? Well, I don't know, but I'm sure there's got to be more work. You got more windows somewhere, right? Like that's what it kind of feels like. And so that was the sort of a corner of my post. I looked at it and I said, I did lose my support, but not because they were bad, and it's not because I was bad. It's because I was done. And I knew that, and they knew that, and so support is gone. Now, if I didn't know that and I experienced that, I would have been like, why? What's going on? I'm no longer necessary. I'm not going to need it. That's true. You are no longer necessary. But it's a good thing. Like you said, I said, congratulations, you're done. Like, you just have to recognize that. And for that, you have to self-assess, and for that, you have to be the person looking back at yourself and at your program and consistently assessing yourself. Am I reaching the point that I wanted to reach? Of course, you also want to know what that point was in the beginning, but that's sort of the summary of the post.
I'm curious, though, who are they bringing to maintain what they have in place? Is it a promotion of somebody from within, the director in your team? Because still, yes, maybe you're done, you're the transformational guy, and you can slow down things, but somebody still to make sure that your vision of done doesn't deteriorate right now.
Absolutely. No, yeah, maintenance and look, it's not, I've done the explosive and very painful transformation piece. It doesn't mean transformation is over. It's not going to be over ever. As we know, security, nothing ever stays the same. So it's going to be continuous.
Because they will change some of the tech, new
exactly.
IT tools will come in, new
All of
SaaS
that.
platforms.
The business situation will
Yep,
change. A number of things
absolutely.
can happen.
Maybe they will acquire new companies, and so things happen.
On any number of things.
Yep.
So I brought in an old friend of mine we actually started in college in '98 together.
Yep.
He's a very close friend of mine, and he was a manager in IT. And when I was looking for someone to bring in, I recognized that in security, it's not what you know, it's whether you can be trusted and how quickly can you learn. And he was someone I could trust, and I knew that he could learn quickly, and he was very interested in this in general. He was asking questions. He never thought like I would do this, so I invited him. So he took over, and for the last couple of months, he was the one running the team. He was the operational manager. And for the last couple of months, basically my job and his job was really in preparing him to take over the decision making, not on a day-to-day, but also on strategic and operational level. And so Yuri Litvak is his name. He's director of security there now. I hope they make him a deputy CISO or a CISO, and I think that was the original idea. Mm-hmm. When I hired him, I told them, "You're coming in here because you want to be a CISO one day." And in fact, everyone on my team, I said, "Unless you don't want to, we'll be working on making you a CISO." And most of them said yes. Some of them said no. Like I'm not looking yet for that. I just want to do. But even for those people, if we can shift them up the leadership ladder to 5 or 6, they're going to be ready in most places to be the CISO in this role. So it's an important question, and definitely didn't sort of leave an empty hole. We made sure that he was in a good place from him down, and that from him up, he was also well prepared and connected, board presentations, things like that. Plus, I held his firstborn. He does know where I live, so he can always find me.
The Didi and Lital Show will return in a moment. The Didi and Lital Show is sponsored by ORT. In today's world, identities are the perimeter protecting the organization and are the most exploited vector by attackers. If your security teams are struggling to maintain control of identity management tools, ORT can help. ORT offers a centralized platform for discovering, monitoring, assessing, and remediating identity threats to your business. While most security platforms can take weeks or months to start identifying and remediating risks, with ORT, your security teams can get started in as little as 30 minutes and start securing the identity perimeter immediately. ORT will surface the most critical vulnerabilities and give your security teams the recommended action steps. Start your trial today at ORT.io. That's OORT.io. The Didi and Lital Show is sponsored by Hunters. Hunters is a SaaS platform purpose-built for security operation teams, providing unlimited data ingestion and normalization at a predictable cost. Hunters helps SOC teams mitigate real threats faster and more reliably than SIM. Visit hunters.ai to learn more.
This is a very mature kind of you.
Conscious uncoupling, is that what they call it these days?
This is so thoughtful, and I think it's like the ideal playbook for how to run leadership transition, level of awareness of who is the right person and what's the right personality. I can tell you in any other position in a company, there are those that are transformational leaders versus those that are there to maintain. Each leader has his own style, strength. So true for security, I'm sure it's true for R&D leadership. In marketing, I can tell you, there are those that come to build and break, and those that are there to maintain. And it takes, sometimes you can do it all. It's rare. I think you have a very great playbook here of how to think about it, how to build it, and the ability that you have this awareness, and the company had this support of you. Chapeau, really.
Exactly, and I just want to say thank you to and that was my post. It was like I started it, and I bet you people that started reading it were like, oh, he's going to bash Avid talking about this. And my point was I thanked everyone I had as a manager and the CEO, because from top to my immediate super, although sometimes it was just two levels. Even if even when they didn't understand me, because I still couldn't make my message clear, they still supported me all the way until we were all in agreement that we were done. And so they deserve a lot of credit for this. And the result of being vastly more mature from InfoSec perspective, from resilience perspective, compliance prep, etc., is not it's everyone's, starting with them. Again, even if they didn't understand me, because in many ways you don't need to, you don't have to, you shouldn't. That's the whole point of having a CISO. But oftentimes that is also combined with, well, if I don't understand you, I don't know how to support you. They were supportive, try to be extra supportive even when they couldn't understand me.
Interesting.
Yeah. I want to touch on this point. Maybe that's not your case, but I think you also wrote a little bit about it, and you have things to comment about. It does happen that the CISO doesn't get support of top leadership, especially in contentious moments, a breach, tough decisions to make, big investment, I need to cut, all those kind of things. And maybe the support is not like in your case when the job is done. Maybe sometimes it's the opposite when the job is not done. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit. What are your thoughts? It's a tough role to be a CISO these days. So maybe we can unpack a little bit about that. The accountability of the CISO versus the rest of the C-suite?
It's a great question. It's an important point to consider. I kind of came up with sort of an analogy. It's a little bit of a story, but I think it kind of makes its point. So
Go with it.
imagine that I've been hired to run an emergency room, hospital emergency room, an ER. Or rather, not to run, but to look. We are a hospital. We sort of save people, but we don't really have an ER. Can you organize it? All right, sure. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to take a look at the hospital, look at the income, the patients, the flow, all of that, and say, well, look, based on this, you're going to need this much money to operate an ER where people won't die, because that's the goal, right? People not dying. And they'll say to you, and this is not Avid. I want to be very, very clear. This is not Avid. I'm just saying in general, this is how a CISO can be, in a lot of cases, is handled. Great. We are absolutely committed to not losing any lives. Here's half the money that you asked for. Okay, but does that mean we are okay with some people dying? No, of course not. We're here to save lives. We can't have people die. But I only get half the money? Yes. Okay, all right, let me see what I can do. 6 months goes by, a year goes by. We have a board of trustees meeting. We need to know what is the state of our ER.
Of the dying.
No, of ER. Well, no one died, so I guess that's good. No. You don't understand. What is the state of ER? Well, these are the KPIs that I track that tell me whether ER operates well. No, we don't want that much information. That's too technical. Stay up at the high level. Well, which one do you want? Do you want to know whether people died, or do you want to know about my KPIs? Because people didn't die, and my KPIs are not
good. Look good.
Are good, but you're not interested in them. Well, what do you want?
What's the middle ground?
What's the middle ground, right? That's kind of how a CISO is treated. We are trying to protect. We take on the responsibility to protect. It's not a job. This is what people confuse. It's like being a firefighter is a job, but it isn't a job. You don't go to be a firefighter to make money. You go into firefighting, you become a firefighter or an EMT, at least partially, because you want to protect, serve, help. You can't do that job and not want to do that. I guess you can, but then you're not going to be very good at it, right? So we're majority of people going into security have this mindset. A lot of veterans go into security for the same reason, because they leave the army, they leave whatever place they were in, and they did this there. And then they come out and say, where else can I do this? And one of the few places is security. But that's a very, very special mindset. Just like with veterans of any of those either armed forces or first responders, regular civilians don't understand. They're not, they don't come face to face with the loss, with continuous expectation of a loss, with continuous expectation of a loss despite your best efforts. It's like, you guys have teenagers, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to repeat the names you gave them, but you're trying to save them, protect them, while they're continuously and consciously trying to stick their hand into a grinder.
Yes.
Like that's and you keep telling them, and you keep trying to, protect them, and then, no, look, I got to stick my hand into this grinder. That's just the way I want to do it. And you're like, business objectives. Okay, fine. Which is the finger you want to lose
First,
right? Let's fine. Let's at least you know what? If you lose this finger, you'll be fine. It's not that you're not used for that much, and we just need to make sure we get a tourniquet in place. Let's the incident response process ready to go,
yes.
right? And then you lose your second finger. You're like, okay, maybe we should start sticking. And you're like, okay, well, if I have 3 fingers left, you're still okay, right? Or like this or something. Like this is the kind of this is what we're talking about.
See the analogy going on, yeah.
But at the same time, most of us care. And this care component is wearing us out. It's a continuous grind on the chisel of our brains that we cannot stop.
It's an emotional toll.
It's emotional
right?
toll.
Because
You can't. It's like your kid. Your kid's gonna get hurt. You're upset at them for not listening, but you are sorry for them. You feel really bad that they got hurt. That's kind of what we're dealing with. So support, money, budgets, all of that, careers, putting that aside, on daily basis, we are dealing with
Emotional
tax
tax.
drag, and as the work gets tougher and the emotional impact gets tougher, something has to give, and it's usually our health. It's usually the first thing that goes is our health, our sanity, anxiety, worry that you can't stop. I mean,
Yeah.
what you felt when you were closing is kind of what some of us, or a lot of us, are feeling on daily, weekly basis. And there was a really powerful video I saw, and I actually reposted on LinkedIn. It was about a veteran coming back from the war, and he's sitting there in his living room. Kids are watching TV. His wife is sitting there watching TV, and he's sitting in his full battle gear with his rifle, sitting here in the helmet, and he's staring at the TV. You can see in his eyes that his eyes are pointing at the TV, but what he's hearing is
Assessing threats.
he's hearing radio chatter of a combat mission happening and people under fire at that moment.
Yeah.
So he's never out of it. And
Yeah.
so if I'm sitting there on Sunday watching a game, yes, I'm sitting there watching a
But
game.
you still think what's going on in your network.
I'm still thinking about that.
Yeah,
I'm still
it's
thinking about it.
24/7. You cannot disconnect from the reality.
Because if I disconnect, I have to stop caring. And when I stop caring, then I don't care. Then it's just a job, and then we don't do it nearly well enough.
So, what's the path forward in alleviating some of this stress? Because it's not functional. It's hard. Threats are not going anywhere.
I think mainly if we do take the soldier analogy, there is a rotation. When you deal with these things, as you know, growing up in a military country, there are rotations. You hold the line, you get off the line. You hold the line, you get off the line.
You get a weekend off. You get
It's not
to
that.
go to
No. Clearly, your boyfriends were all nerds. When you send people up to Lebanon, you hold the line, and then you get off the line, and you get less.
We're talking weeks, months.
Exactly.
off.
After
Yeah, because-
Or even years.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, I'm almost 4 months past like really working there at Avid, like full on, and I'm still recovering. And okay, granted, I maybe take things a little bit more personally than most people, just my own thing. But I think you're right. I think rotation is super important, and it has to be long. So maybe the thing is, cybersecurity workers get 2 months on, 1 month off, or something like that. I mean, it's worth considering that because the toll is significant, and when we break, it's going to be too late to try and find a replacement, and now your protection mechanism is dependent
declining.
on broken people.
Yep.
And it's not just the CISO. Like, it's
The whole
all the
team.
employee.
The whole team.
People, analysts, I'm
Yeah.
sure they have the day-to-day grind dealing with false positives, true positives, incident response and all. I
It's
mean,
the whole team. Absolutely.
Yep. I think we're getting to time. Let's
a
play our
lot
game.
of great points today. Yeah.
Yes. No, listen. We can always drag Dima back. He lives down the street from us. So
Mental health podcast.
yes,
Definitely.
definitely. And
Definitely.
and
Something to think.
I need a counter voice with a nice after you and Andy, a nice bass.
So we have a new version for the game.
Yes, we have a
And
new
now,
version
Tal and
because
Didi present Prove You're Not a Robot. 3 final authenticating questions for our guest.
Well, do we want to remind who is the superhero Dima chose last time?
we'll let him remind us.
I think it was called Five Whys,
Yep.
played by Ryan Gosling.
Yes. Ken.
Which is now
Ken.
Ken. I'm gonna
No,
watch the
no,
Barbie
I'm
movie.
not. Blah blah blah. Nope, not Ken. No, Gray Man. Think
yeah.
of him
Are
as
you gonna
Gray
watch
Man.
Oppenheimer?
I'm gonna watch
It's like
Barbie
the-
first.
Everybody talks about this weekend.
Yes.
Two amazing. We didn't
What
talk
was the other one?
sports.
Barbie and
Barbie
and Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer's. That's
Oh,
like the
Oppenheimer,
win.
yeah, the
that's
Oppenheimer
like the
one.
two winning movies. We didn't talk sports, so we can talk movies.
When
Yeah.
you decide on the Oppenheimer time, let me know because I'd love to see it with the brain head.
Okay.
Maybe we do it this weekend.
maybe I'll make you come with Ron because you really need a brain head. I'm secondhand brains.
All right, let's
Okay.
play it.
So, what is the future of passwords in your mind?
Death.
Death?
No, non-existent. No more passwords. I mean, it's already happening.
No, that's not.
It's come on. It's you. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's starting to happen.
Well, we had full episode about
I know.
passwordless.
I
and
know.
it was a
But
good one.
listen, I had episodes about IPv4 going away.
Didn't you say this week who is still using firewalls?
So that is actually another question that I would actually want to ask Dima in general.
Who is using firewalls?
Let's not get me fired on the first
The
day.
first day in Cisco. Yeah, people
Yes.
still use firewalls, and please keep on using
I'm
them.
on a
Yes.
startup where that word came up. In fact, I used it. I said, why don't we just call it a firewall? And someone said, because then it'll be all these network vendors that are going to be brought up in the conversation. I said, okay, good point. So maybe we can switch to the European name for firewall.
Which is?
Brandmeister, I think it's a German word for literally for the firewall, the wall in the building that is fireproof.
Okay.
There is a name for it, and
Yeah.
that's what they use in Eastern Europe to call a firewall.
I love German. They have a word for
Everything.
things that we would say in full sentence.
Weistefana.
Yeah, exactly. It's a full sentence. They have a word for it. Yes.
So the other one, you know what? Let's skip those questions. I do want to ask you, what technology do you see going away in security in the next 10 years? And what technology do you think will replace it?
That's a
Crickets.
That's a great question. No, hold on.
It's tough.
It's a
10 years also.
He pulls it out just like that. Well, so I think that yes, thank you, Dave. That was very good. No, I got it. Unfortunately for Lital,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe they already have it in mind. I think that the whole industry around processing logs. And making decisions based on that is going to go away, not because it's not necessary, but because it's going to become the resources that we are getting available to us will make it not necessary to store.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
will
You
make
can
it,
do real time or
yeah, you can exactly. You can keep everything in your proverbial
Your
head as far back as you want, and make a decision on the fly, inline.
Yeah.
Right? It's inline versus.
Yeah.
Well, that's a technological change that will
Yes.
come. Yeah.
So I'll for the less nerds, what I think you're saying, and I like it because I'm making a similar claim in other places, is that basically the traditional SIM is going away, and what needs to happen is something that deals with APIs and whatever to understand the state, the varying states of the security state, and maintain like a continuous state machine, not a log processor, but rather a state machine.
And then combining with one of the questions you didn't ask me, imagine an inline
AI.
An
AI.
inline
Uh-huh.
AI that it's like having a human but being able to operate at inline speeds and
Yes.
make decisions.
Yeah. Reviewing the state of everything right now
Yeah.
and making decisions on the fly.
And we talked about it during last time
Yeah.
we met about edge computing.
Yes.
All of that capacity will come from all of those devices. We'll be able to walk, like, you're walking down the street and you are, you can have 20% of your worn-on capacity available for momentary usage to anyone that you're walking by. So as you're walking by a coffee shop, they need to do some additional processing. Computation. They pull it from the people on the street. And if it's for this fake human making decisions on the fly, for example, purchasing decisions for next week, do I buy more lettuce? Do I buy less lettuce? Right now, it's a human thinking about it. This is what is going to start happening. We're going to start getting more of that combination into our daily lives.
I have to say that from my perspective, when everybody mentions AI, I'm a big fan of Dune. And for those that don't know Dune, in Dune, there are no computers. I don't know if everybody's
Correct. There are no computers.
There are no computers because there was the Butlerian Jihad that eliminated computers and AIs.
So instead of them, they had, what do they call those?
Mentats.
Mentats, yep.
Exactly. So think about this. I think as we accelerate our AIs, we might actually accelerate their end faster than we think.
Or our end.
Or
Could
our
be.
end.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Dima, pleasure as always.
Always a pleasure. Well, thanks everyone. Here is another episode of the Didi and Lital show. If you like the show, please rate and review us. Put some reviews so that people can enjoy and know why you like the show. If you want to be on the show, reach out to me at Didi. And until the next time, next week, see you. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Dima.
See you guys. Thank you, guys.